Welcome back to Cricket for Americans. Nick here.
Gabe, the Night Watchman.
And Gabe and I are here for, I guess it's week 2, week 3, I don't know. But our second recap of the World Cup thus far. And if you haven't checked out our first week, go ahead and check it out, our thoughts on that. And because, we have crazy schedules, we don't have the time to do our 3 wickets for every single match. Right. So these week breakdowns work out. Now, doesn't mean to say there's not a match that we have to talk about. We're not going to talk about in isolation.
Right.
But the World Cup is getting to that point right now, Gabe, where, the separation is happening. The Red Sea is parted, my friend. You're either on this side or you're not. Right. There's some teams still trying to cross or whatever. Right. I want to get into the standings in just a second. But they didn't come here to listen to this guy talk. Say hello to the people, my friend.
What's going on, CFA Nation? And possibly any Boring Review fans that came over? Guys, let me tell you something. I was going through the comments or whatever, and let me tell you how passionate I am about cricket. I'm in the happiest place on earth, a.k.a. Disneyland. And I'm with my family this last Saturday, right? And we're walking through. I'm getting ready to go on the Star Wars ride, right? One of the main reasons I wanted to go. We spent the holiday weekend there, right? Halloween. And I look on my phone, Nick's streaming or whatnot. And as I predicted, Australia's getting absolutely manhandled, okay, by England. Upsetting.
It was excellent.
I had to text Nick and say, get me on the stream. Send me a link. And my wife is like, are you serious right now? We're walking through this. Go back and watch that. I'm walking through Disneyland, losing my mind because of how embarrassing it is. Jihan, all the Australian fans, I told you. Listen, oh, we're going to smack them in the ashes. It's going to be 5-0.
Oh,
really?
Wow.
Really? Are you watching the same Australia I'm watching? Are you watching the same Australia I'm watching that's been struggling for the last year plus? All right, that got beat down at the Gabba. I know it's Test and not T20, all right, which Test they're arguably stronger, okay? I don't know what because he did. Don't know why he's not there. It's like I'm done, bro. I'm so frustrated. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, from the beginning of the tournament, I said, listen, Pakistan, once they got their first win against India, which to me was, wow, this team is amazing. They look strong, and England absolutely manhandled other teams. Australia struggled with South Africa. People are like, oh, you're not giving credit to the South Africa. Yeah. How does that look now? Here's the bottom line. It's going to be England and Pakistan, bro. Bottom line, all right? I'm calling it right now. Those are the 2 best teams. England has been known to have a good white ball team. So credit to you, Nick. I know that's your second squad. Everybody was like, oh, you jumping ship. I'm not jumping ship. Do I got an England baggy green right now? I got a green baggy green, right? I'm rocking with my Aussies. I'm rocking with the West Indies. But am I blind too? No. All right? I'm not buying magic beans and selling my cow for magic beans. I see what I see. Australia, trash. Bottom line, West Indies, ultra trash, more than trash, Nick. They need to blow up the entire thing. And don't be happy after a win against Bangladesh when by the way, you know why that win happened? Jason Holder played like I said he should have played. Okay, Jason Holder played. They got rid of that trash, Lendo Simmons. Bro, it's so frustrating to me, bro. Honestly. And it's like, you know what? I don't care, Nick, that people call me out on certain things. But don't sit here when I make a sound analysis and just say, oh, I'm jumping ship because they're losing. I'm not jumping ship, but I could be realistic. Guess what? And again, maybe it's mine. As a limo driver, I've met a lot of athletes. Maybe it's that jadedness where I realize they're regular people just like me, that we should be able to tell anything to these athletes. And when you're trash, I'm going to tell you. You don't deserve the spot. And if you're playing for the West Indies right now, a lot of guys don't deserve their spots. If you're playing for Australia right now, a lot of these guys don't deserve their spots. Bottom line, bro. So fired up about it. And bro, they are who we thought they were. Exactly what I said. They are who we thought they were. Gosh. Go ahead. Australia fans, tell me how we're going to whitewash England 5-0 at the Ashes. I'm willing to put money on that. That ain't going to happen. Not with this team. Team.
Let me make some corrections right there in that rant. That rant was not accurately correct. Okay, so let's go over some corrections. The funny thing is, like, the little game plan beforehand, like, let's start off by talking about the standings and this and that, and he already lost his mind. So I love how he follows the script. But
Never do.
The first thing I got to mention, Australia's test team is different than their T20 team, obviously. And England's test team is way different than their T20 team, obviously. Like you said, the white ball team. So it's going in Australia. Australia plays very well at tests in Australia, except for against my India the last 2 times. I'm just saying. So I do think I'm not calling for a whitewash. I will never call for that. But I do think Australia has better chances in that regard. Second thing, you mentioned Bukowski. You love this guy. I wanted to double check. I'm thinking to myself, he plays T20 too for Australia? Let me check. He's had 0 matches for T20, right?
Nope.
He's had 1 test match. He scored 72, which was fantastic.
Right.
He's had 1 international match. Gabe's already calling for him.
Well, he's young
calling
boy.
For him.
Absolutely. Bring in the young boy. Don't give me these old trash dudes that can't perform, bro. Don't give me these bro. Matthew Wade. I hate
He's gonna make his debut.
Bro, you know what I mean?
World Cup. I absolutely love it.
Well,
Gabe,
no, he actually made his debut in Test last year, actually. But he's
gonna make his T20 debut in World Cup action.
Bring in the young guys, absolutely. When these old guys can't get it done,
I just love how that's the name you call for Bukowski.
I mean,
this guy loves himself some Bukowski. 1 match,
bro.
1 match. He loves himself some Bukowski.
I would have called for Uzi, but he's been permanently banned. I don't know what Uzi did or who he did it to, but my man can't get no love. Uzi can't get no love, bro.
Absolutely love it.
He's been banned. But Nick, you know what I mean? Like, bro, England beat them in the 12th over, man. And Australia fans were sitting here, and I'm like, come on, guys. Let's just be real. Let's just be real, bro. They got smacked down, and let's just call it is what it is.
You want to talk about smackdown? You heard Team India before? At least Australia wasn't ranked in the top 2 or top 3. India was supposed to be the best squad ever. They've never lost to Pakistan. Yeah, and since then, Pakistan has not lost in the tournament. India's played the 2 hardest, most difficult teams in their standing group, and they lost to both. Afghanistan is the 3rd hardest one, and they might beat them even worse for crying out loud. India, oh my gosh. People are like, how come no India videos? What do you want me to say? They're playing like garbage right now, and that's absolutely the truth. These are some of the best T20 players in the entire world. They can't last 8 or 9 balls. They can't get a wicket to save their life. Boomerang finally got a power play wicket in the last match against New Zealand, and the team's like, when's the last time that happened? That's amazing. It's unbelievable. And they didn't have another one until like garbage time in the 20th over or some nonsense. They can't get any kind of wickets when they need wickets. They can't get any kind of people established. Rohit Sharma has turned into like the worst hitter in the first 2 matches, and we know how good Rohit Sharma is. The other guys are just non-existent. India is getting beat. You're talking about the 12th over. New Zealand easily chasing like in the 11th or 12th over.
Right.
Easily. I mean, they didn't break a sweat. Who's this guy named Daryl Strawberry? No, whatever his name is. I'm not sure what his name is. That guy was nuts. I never heard of the guy before. New Zealand fans probably did. Our teams are garbage. And there's no joke besides England. England's fantastic. But it's okay because the World Cup marches on, right? India's not who we thought they were. Are they exhausted from the IPL? I don't know. Are they not into it because maybe there's some kind of friction in the clubhouse? I don't know. This is Kohli's swan song right here. This is how you're going to go out? Is this have the players given up on Kohli? I don't know. Are they just, homesick and they want to be with their families? I have no idea what's going on.
Right.
But it is very apparent that they don't belong in the same class as the first 2 teams they played so far by the way they played. And we'll get into the standings, the chances and all that in a second. But you talk about garbage. India was supposed to be the top-ranked squad.
Very, very interesting. Let me ask you a question, Nick, okay? And, bro, it's. I want you to do an analysis, okay, of my West Indies team because there's something I'm not seeing that I should have seen going in. I think I know what it is, but again, we talked about it, Renil. Some of the West Indies fans has talked about the politics around the West Indies, but sometimes you need an objective opinion going from the outside in, right? And right now, I think it'd be fair to say that this Indian team wouldn't beat anybody. wouldn't be anybody. That's just being real, okay? And to your point, they came in ranked top 2 because why? You know what they did the last time they played in a T20 squad? Oh, sorry, they smacked England, who's now manhandlers, right? England's beating everybody, and England lost to India by 7 wickets, and you see how good India looks here. I honestly think, Nick, and maybe this is my opinion, the noise has gotten to them. Okay, people love to talk about how noise doesn't matter and people, professional athletes. Again, I have a different opinion because I've been up close and personal with a lot of these athletes. Okay, and they pay attention. They pay attention to the media. Okay, they pay attention to what's going on. They have families, and you cannot tell me that the whole Kohli drama, where he was even to the point, was what you want the IPL? You want my T20 captaincy too? Take it. You want me to set that down for ODI too? Take it. All this drama that's been going on with Virat Kohli, you cannot tell me that has not affected this team whatsoever. Sugar Darwin, who would normally be here, right? Sugar Darwin, who's a big bat for India, not here right now. You cannot tell me it's because of the personal issues he's going through in his life with a divorce, all right? These things get to people. They're human, all right? And you mentioned it. Has the team given up on Kohli? I don't know. But it seems like they've given up on this team as far as like, they're not playing together. They're not playing cohesively. And it's like they got a mountain of pressure on them that has nothing to do with cricket, if that makes sense. And I still go back to that story where people are like, well, if he's going to give up the ODI, or I forgot what he stepped down from, he should just give up all the captaincy. Isn't the RCB the most pressure-packed captaincy there is? And now you're taking shots at him and basically saying, he's money hungry, whatever. And it's like, okay, you want to really do that going right into the IPL? So I honestly believe that it is locker room friction. There is a lot of disjointedness going on in that room. It stems from the issues Kohli has had with the media, with the BCI, the whole, stepping down or getting stripped as captain. And I want to get your thoughts on that because, again, we're not talking about a year ago, guys. This is literally 2 months ago, right before the IPL started, that England, got manhandled against India in T20. And England right now could do no wrong. And all of a sudden, India right now can't even hit the backside of a barn with, a bowling ball. Like, what's going on, Nick?
Let me tell you what I think it is. I honestly, obviously you get to perform, but let's look at the players that are struggling right now. Most of them, if not all of them, play in the IPL. The ones that are the big names. Josh Butler had the last several months off, right? He didn't show up, right? He wasn't there. He's playing really well right now.
Yeah.
Chris Wokes didn't show up. He's playing really well right now. Right. All of Australia didn't, besides Maxwell, didn't show up. And guess who's struggling the most for Australia in the top 4 lineup? Maxwell. He's struggling right now. All of Team India is struggling right now. You had the West Indies players. A lot of them play in the IPL, and they just finished the CPL 5 seconds before that. They're struggling right now. So I really think there's fatigue. Are the other teams playing? Sure. Pakistan was supposed to do some friendlies or some exhibitions with 2 different nations. They both canceled on them. Pakistan, they don't get invited to the IPL. They're playing really well right now. So you cannot tell me that this domestic league, where it was right back to back, was not wearing down on them. Again, they're still in the UAE. They still have that bubble situation. I don't think they could have gone home for a quick cup of tea or whatever and spend time with the family before they came back. I really think that had something to do with it. And let's look at the other nations where some players have fired. Namibia, I don't think any of those players are in the IPL, right? Scotland, they're not in the IPL, right? And I understand they're not playing too well. Sri Lanka, very few. Hasaranga might be one of the few exceptions who played in the IPL recently and is performing really well right now, even though Sri Lanka was just bounced out. We'll get to that in a second.
Right.
So that's my biggest thing right there. I think they're tired. I think they're exhausted, for crying out loud. And Roston Chase, he did not play in the IPL. They finally played him, and he played well. Even though he played in the CPL, he got a little bit of rest. That's my biggest takeaway right there.
So you know what, Nick? I thought about that, but here's the problem. People keep telling me how cricket isn't baseball, okay? But one thing I have mentioned before, like, guys, cricket is there is no offseason in cricket. There isn't, because you go right from tests to ODI.
There could be, but if you want to make that money, you got to keep going to other ones.
To T20, to the Big Bash League, to IPL. I mean, there's so many different There's so many different leagues and so much cricket going on. These guys barely get a break. They barely get a break. Now in baseball, all right, pitchers, for instance, they get shut down for sure. So I could see that affecting the bowlers the most because those arms, you only got so many bullets in your arm. Bottom line, you only have so many bullets in your arm because if you throw so many pitches a year, I mean, statistics show, and they've done this sabermetrically over the course of 10 years, that you're more prone to get injured than if you stay under this certain amount of number. Okay, it's like going to the gym, you're tearing that muscle, whatever. You need that recovery time. If you go too many days in a row, you're doing more harm than good. So, but people tell me, well, they only bowl for 4 spells, right? But I've always argued, at least in baseball, the idea is you don't want to stop and start and stop and start because that's actually worse. Okay, think about, again, being in the gym. If you're on the treadmill running, you're warm the entire time as if supposed to. If you're running, you get back on, you stop. So the stop and start, I think, actually is a detriment to bowlers in cricket. Okay, and here I know I can read the comments already. Cricket's not baseball. I understand that. My point is, again, the whole stopping and starting of the motion, the whole stopping and starting of, just the run-ups or whatever, that quick, it's intense. You know what I'm saying? Then you sit down, you don't bowl for a few overs, you get back in there, especially, in a smaller time frame, it could do some damage to you. Now, I don't care what anybody says, football, baseball. Again, one of the biggest NFL running backs just went down. Everybody and their mother knew he was going to go down. I left him in my draft because I knew he was going to go down, because any running back that gets over 250 carries a year, the next year goes down with an injury. It's proven. Bro, that's like, set it in stone, man. You know what I'm saying? That's like as sure as the sun is going to come out, and Chris Henry went down. Everybody knew he was going to go down because he had 250 plus carries last year. Your body is just not meant to hold up for that. So again, I thought about that, but I kind of stayed away from that argument because, yes, my West Indies have played a lot because they went from the CPL to the IPL right here as well. Some of them also play BBL. But people keep telling me that, oh, no, these guys are used to playing all year round. Could you do anything all year round and, not take a break? Like, physically. If your job was physically demanding.
But it's the physical and it's the mental. The mental of, now I get what you're saying, because England's going to have domestic leagues. Pakistan's going to have domestic leagues. New Zealand's going to have domestic leagues. And England had the 100 and they had their domestic leagues. But it's almost like those domestic leagues, those home ones that aren't as widely covered as the IPL.
Right.
It's almost like that's like a hobby for them, if I can say that, without being any kind of disrespect. You got your family there. You're in your county club or whatever. You're home. You're not stuck in some hotel spot with everybody else, and you're not able to ever leave. I do think the emotional, I think the mental, I think the physical, I do think, because name one guy besides Hasaranga that was in the IPL that's killing it right now in the World Cup. Even Kane Williamson is not killing the cover off the ball. It's his support around him. He's still doing his job.
Right.
Who else is killing it right now? Names like even Owen Morgan's being Owen Morgan, right? But I mean, come on. I can't think of too many people, so it's got to be a factor.
To your point, Ben Stokes actually took off time because he said mental fatigue, you know what I mean? COVID bubble fatigue, and I got to be around my family, and mental health is more important. So, it could play a role, not just the physical fatigue, but the mental fatigue. Okay. And I don't know if that's what's going to be your answer. Like, I like your answer, and I want to do the research. I want people to do the research and find out, because we have seen a lot of injuries early on here in the World Cup, right? We've seen a lot of guys go down with injuries, and not Hasaranga. Who was the other really good all-rounder that just went down?
He was an all-rounder, but Mills went down for England. But
Mills went down but he was in the BBL. I mean, he was in the 100, right?
Yeah, the BBL was like a while ago. 100 was not too far long ago.
Was not too far ago. So, but the guy hasn't stopped playing. But there was somebody else who went down, another big name, not Sri Lanka, but was it Bangladesh all-rounder? I can't remember. But we have seen the injuries start coming to creep up on teams.
Right? Sakib?
Yeah. Sakib Al-Hassan. So again, and he was also in the IPL, to your point. Like, guys, injuries happen, man. And the longer you play, the more apt you are to be injured, okay? Bro, they're treating my son Trey with kid gloves to the point where he's got non-contact jersey on because our high school team is in the playoffs. They just won their last playoff game for the first time in 3 years. They hadn't won a playoff game. So Trey goes to practice, but literally it's like non-contact, man, because you don't want him or the quarterback going down because that's your team. They go down, it's over. You're done. Good night. And I mean, it's got to wear on you, man, playing so much. And that was a really good point, a really good articulated point. and I don't think enough people are giving that its due.
You just can't give me. I know there's other factors. I get it, but India can't beat these two very good squads that they should be able to. They can't even stay in the same room with them. And you're going to say, but the Pakistan match was really close, Nick. I don't know if I would say that. I don't know if I would say that at all. They couldn't get the openers out, for crying out loud. So, I mean, it's crazy. I want to talk about the group stage right now because it's in a very interesting situation. Talking about Group 1, where you have England, South Africa, Australia, Sri Lanka, West Indies, Bangladesh. England has clinched the knockout stage. They're in the semis.
Yeah.
They're already there. South Africa is in the second spot. Bangladesh and Sri Lanka have already been bounced out. They've played 4 matches. They've won 1 and they lost 0, respectively. So you have the only guys that are mathematically still in from Group 1, West Indies, Australia, South Africa, all fighting for 1 spot. South Africa has 1 more match than West Indies and Australia, and they got the 2 extra points. They also got the net run rate. So Australia, for them or West Indies to get in, not only do they have to win the next 2 matches, or no, hold on. Let's go West Indies first. They have only 1 win. West Indies has to win the next 2 matches. They have to have Australia and South Africa lose the rest of their matches, and they have to win more convincingly because net run rate. So West Indies, for the most part, they're done, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
They're not – it's not impossible, but it's going to be very, very tough. They're going to have to beat the bricks off the next 2 opponents. Right. Australia, they are behind in net run rate. South Africa had an extra game, I think it was today, and they won. They won very convincingly. Right. They had a little bit of help in the net run rate, but they're already ahead of Australia net run rate, even though Australia beat South Africa. So Australia has to win the next 2 matches or have win 1 and have South Africa lose 1, but they have to win more convincingly. So for all intents and purposes, it looks like England, South Africa, Australia has a chance in Group 1. What are your thoughts about that? I really do. I think South Africa is going to be able to get there and stay in that second spot. What do you think?
You know, here's where I think we differ in opinion a little bit, okay? The thing about it is South Africa has to play England, right? And England, that's a loss. Bottom line, England are I don't care what, guys, watch what I'm watching, all right? England.
They can still have a bad match. They're going
to walk through it. Now, having lost to Mills is a big deal. It absolutely is, okay? But with that being said, again, go back to South Africa's first loss, right, against Australia. South Africa has struggled when they play the bigger teams. They barely beat the West Indies, all right? They barely beat the West Indies. I think they won by they had 10 balls left. But yeah, it was 10 balls left against the West Indies. And my West Indies are nothing to write home about. So looking at their matchup, they got to get by England. The good thing for Australia is that Australia has already played England and, you know, gotten manhandled there, right?
Well, Australia plays your West Indies, and your 2 teams can mess it up for Australia.
Bro, Australia plays Bangladesh. They'll beat Bangladesh, and I believe they'll play the West Indies. They'll beat the West Indies. West Indies just looks like an old team to me right now. They look like a team that don't know what they're doing. I don't know why it took an injury to get Jason Holder in the side. I don't know why it took 2 terrible games from Lendell Simmons, even though somebody told me in the comments, one of our West Indies fans, oh, he's related to one of the selectors or people on the board or whatever. Oh, nepotism at its finest, obviously. But why was he in there over Roston Chase? You can't even justify that to me. I don't care what you say, but I don't think they have enough. Regardless, that's my opinion. But yeah, not to knock South Africa, but again, do you see South Africa beating England? No, I don't. So if that's the case, I think because Australia's already beaten South Africa and they'll win the next 2 matches, they'll get through. And it'll be the 2 rivals again, Australia versus England. But that's just my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of homerism right there for sure. But this is the thing. If South Africa beats England, because England's already won all, then they're going to the next round, they have Tamil Mills out. They may, I'm not saying they're going to, but they may have a situation where they want to rest a few guys, right? And they want to give other guys some World Cup experience, and they've already solidified their spot or whatever. I understand they probably want to get a higher seeding. I get that. But I don't think they're going to lose their seeding regardless because they have a really good net run rate. So they're in a really, really good spot. And I wouldn't count out South Africa as automatically losing to England because I'm still waiting for England to have a really bad match. You would think most people are going to have that at some point. I thought Pakistan was going to have a bad match today because they started like 50 or 60 after 10 overs, and they ended up scoring 189 because Rizwan, an amazing review. He was my captain, by the way, 2 for 11. He was out. They reviewed it. He was not out. He went on to score like 72 or some nonsense. Really, really impressive. But I thought that was going to be their bad game. They were able to survive that against Namibia and continue to steamroll. But I wouldn't put it past, but I understand what you're saying, because if South Africa loses at Australia, if they win their last 2 matches, they're automatically in, regardless of net run rate. But I wouldn't guarantee that they're going to win their last 2 matches. We'll see what happens. They are in charge of their own destiny as far as now, especially if South Africa loses. So as far as that goes, right, that could be what's going on. It's basically a tale of 3 teams for the most part. West Indies is still, this skin of their chin. Group 2, Pakistan's got that sewn up. They're going to the knockout stage with England. They're already there. Afghanistan's in the 2nd spot with 3 matches played. Namibia, they're in the 4th spot, 3 matches played. The other 3 teams, New Zealand, India, Scotland, they've all only played 2 matches, and India and Scotland are winless right now. So you would think with the performances that Scotland's had, they've actually played worse than India, which is so sad to say that, but they have. So you would think they're done. India, if they lose any more matches, they are done, in my opinion. They have to run the table the rest of the way out so they can go 3-2. And they got to win very convincingly because they have a negative net run rate to have a chance. But let's put that to the side right now. Namibia still has a chance. If they would have beat Pakistan today, it would have made things more interesting. But you got Afghanistan. If they win the next 2 matches, New Zealand wins their next matches, New Zealand leapfrogs them. Afghanistan's got a 2-point lead and 1-match lead. So there's a whole lot of craziness fighting for that last spot. You technically have 5 teams still in it for that 2nd spot. I'm going to get to my prediction next because I'm a huge homer here. How do you see who's going to take that 2nd spot and join Pakistan from Group 2?
It depends what happens tomorrow. So if India beats Afghanistan tomorrow, which
they have to. Yeah.
Which I'm expecting they will. If India beats Afghanistan tomorrow, they get through because they're not losing to Scotland. I mean, if they lose to Scotland, then it's really time to put all these guys under the couch and the management and everything. Like, okay, is this match fixing? Come on. Something's going on. But they won't lose to Namibia. So if they win tomorrow, then they get through. If they lose tomorrow, it's going to be interesting because then the game that's really going to count is New Zealand versus Afghanistan, which they play the last week because it's not going to be Scotland. And again, New Zealand they looked okay. Again, it's not like they beat down India. Okay, I mean it
was pretty easy.
It got all the way to the 15th over, whatever. It's not like what England,
it was pretty easy.
England beat Australia, bro, in the 12th over. You want to talk about easy? Remember what happened to my West Indies 55? That's pretty easy.
No, I know, but it was a pretty easy win for New Zealand. But keep going.
So with that being said, I think if India does not go through, then if India does not go through, I think Afghanistan with their bowling just may have enough to beat New Zealand in that last match, and then Afghanistan goes through. But that is just, again, tomorrow's match will tell us a lot. But that's my prediction. If India wins tomorrow, then they get through because then the rest of their tournament is a cakewalk.
Wow, that's interesting because if they win tomorrow against Afghanistan, they're still 2 points behind Afghanistan, but they have an extra match to try to catch up. Afghanistan plays India and New Zealand, so they have their, conceivably 2 really tough matchups left in their last 2 matchups. So let's say they lose those 2. Let's just predict here. They lose those 2. India wins their 3. They leapfrog Afghanistan. They leapfrog Scotland and Namibia. It comes down to New Zealand. New Zealand's already played Pakistan. New Zealand's already played India. Conceivably the 2 most difficult, highest-seeded teams in this group.
Right.
So now you're talking about them playing Scotland, Namibia, Afghanistan. So your point, Afghanistan match is going to be tough. If Afghanistan loses all their matches, that means New Zealand beats Afghanistan. Right. And New Zealand already has a 2-point lead on India. So New Zealand would have to beat Afghanistan for Afghanistan to stay out of it and then lose their next 2 matches, and then they would be 2-3. So New Zealand has to lose 2 of 3. Afghanistan's got to lose their last 2. Scotland, Namibia can't do anything too interesting, and India's got to win all 3 and try to increase that net run rate if they can, if there's a tie. So India still has a chance. I think New Zealand, I hate to not give love to Afghanistan because as we say this, Afghanistan can go on to beat India and go on to beat New Zealand, and we're a bunch of jokers, right?
Right.
But I feel like, and even though a lot of people predicted it, I'm not trying to disrespect Afghanistan. But look at what's going on for these players right now away from the game. It's incredibly impressive how they're able to keep their focus.
Right.
If they have a chance of moving on, but let's say they lose to those teams, I think it's still New Zealand. And then I think it's Afghanistan second. I think it's India third, to tell you the truth. The chances of who's going to get that second spot. I think India has an outside chance, not as outside as West Indies, but has an outside chance. They do have easier opponents, but the way they've looked so far, I don't care who the opponent is, they've got to put together a complete game,
right.
bowling and batting, get some confidence, and it may be that Afghanistan, but you hate having to rely on other teams to lose for you to even have a chance to get in there. It's going to be extremely interesting. It's very exciting to think of the possibilities. Like you said, tomorrow is going to be a huge day, like every other day is. And the last thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about these two teams, England and Pakistan, and how impressive they have been. We have seen teams like India fall apart. We have seen other teams not have the best performances. And these two teams keep moving forward no matter what. They keep moving forward. You can arguably say, my memory's not the best right now, that maybe even though they outclassed West Indies, with them struggling to lose 4 wickets before they chased the 55, you can say that might have been their worst batting performance. They've had it on the bowling. They've had it on the batting side. They've torn teams apart. They have really steamrolled, just like Pakistan. Pakistan has not skipped a beat since they beat India. They just seem, obviously, the two teams that have the most confidence. I'm nothing but impressed by these two teams. And at this point, to see good cricket, I got to see those two teams clash it out in the knockout stage. It's going to be beautiful.
Now, I got to disagree with you there for a second. I was on the stream with Azjad, and people were asking Azjad to kick me off the stream because I almost mushed Pakistan. Because Pakistan, even though they won by 5 wickets, it came down to the last 6 balls, right? 1 over. That's how far Afghanistan took them. And that's what I'm saying. The best
I was
team
talking about England steamrolling. I didn't say Pakistan steamrolled every match.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say the best team in the tournament, especially in that bracket, has been Pakistan. And Afghanistan literally took them to the brink, almost beat them. So that's what I'm saying.
Afghanistan's a good squad.
That's why I'm saying I think Afghanistan, if India doesn't get through, if Afghanistan beats India tomorrow, they get through. No questions asked because of how close they came to just beating Pakistan. You know what I'm saying? But
so.
Yeah. England has been the team that's basically steamrolled everybody. England, I should say. England has been the team that has steamrolled everybody. So yeah, I misspoke. My apologies. I heard the wrong thing.
I may have said the wrong thing, but it's all good.
You know, with that being said, man, it's going to be a very interesting tournament. And I think that right now, the only chink in the armor for England is that they ended up losing to Mills, okay? This guy, I was talking about him before BBL, right? Recency bias. I saw what he did in the BBL. I was like, oh my gosh. So in our prediction, remember at the beginning, I said this guy could carry the team. Now, who's going to be the replacement? Is it Mark Wood, who would be hurt all the time? You know, somebody told me, on our IPL retention video, no job for Archer. Guys, again, I know I make the comparison between baseball and cricket all the time, but it's what I know. Bro, it's an elbow injury. It's structural. That is like career ending, or when guys come back, they're at least not the same. So I don't know if we're going to have the same job for Archer. I still don't think he's fit to bowl. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Maybe you've already seen who they're going to replace Tamil Mills with, Nick, but Tamil Mills was so bad with his leg injury, it stopped in the middle of an over. He couldn't even finish the over. So that could be play huge, and that might give, in my opinion, Pakistan the advantage versus England as far as who's got the better squad. Because you take a major injury like that, that's not easily, you know what I mean? It's not easy to come back from. But I do think, Nick, that we're in for some more surprises, and I'm calling an upset, and that's going to be the upset of the world. I'm calling an upset, okay? And there's always one. there's always one, even though we not badmouth these teams, but we kind of like, look, this is Bangladesh has lost, every match so far, right? And same thing with Namibia, Scotland, who was everybody's darling, didn't lose a match before they got to this stage, and all of a sudden they lost a match. You know that there's going to be an upset somewhere, whether it's Scotland, New Zealand, you know what I'm saying, which is going to be coming up. That's tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Whether it's maybe Bangladesh beating Australia, there's gonna be an upset. Could you imagine? Like, I don't even see Sri Lanka beating West Indies being an upset because Sri Lanka has a big squad. But one of these small teams, there's got to be a win somewhere in there, Nick. Find me the upset. Don't tell me it's Namibia beating India or Namibia beating New Zealand, bro. That would be like unbelievable. But where's the upset? We still haven't had the major upset in a tournament. That, again, people are like, I guess it was Pakistan beating India, but Pakistan was ranked number 3 or 4 coming in. Pakistan's bowling is always good. I mean, who's the dark horse that's going to at least win one match that will change the complexion of the 12 right now? Because we're in the 12 right now, in the bracket of 12.
Well, I think there's 2 big upsets and 1 small upset possibility. Now, Namibia has won 1 match, so they're not winless like my India are. But I think that, honestly, Namibia could take New Zealand to the brink. I think that's a possibility. I think that Bangladesh could take Australia to the brink. I think that's a possibility. And even though you don't want to believe it, because I know you want Australia in there, I think South Africa could take England to the brink. That's a smaller upset because South Africa is in the second position right now.
Right.
But I do think of those 3, those 3 are the best likelihood. I can see a world where none of them win and no upsets are happen. I can see a world where 1 or 2 or 3 of those happen, and that can make things really interesting. Again, I'm not sure where England mindset's at, depending on where they're going and how they're playing, but that's what I think.
Bro, if, like, no joke, Namibia beats India or Scotland, beats England or something crazy like this happens. Not England. I don't know. Who does Scotland even have that? People are going to be, Pakistan. They're going to talk about, that match specifically. What? Scotland versus Pakistan? Match fixing! People will lose their minds, bro. Wait. So Pakistan beats India, beats New Zealand, beats Afghanistan and loses to Scotland, bro. I'm calling match fixing on the spot. I'm calling Interpol. I'd like to report. I'd like to report
happens. It could happen.
No,
It could happen. It could happen.
Can you imagine though the scandal? People will be investigated. They'll be checking out their Venmo accounts. Like, wait. Did Baba Azam just get a $1 million Venmo right before the game? Huh? Bro? Did the coach? Imagine that, bro. It would be insane if one of those, because and despite people say, oh no, gambling is illegal. Yeah, it's illegal everywhere here in the United States other than Vegas and probably Jersey. And no matter where you go in America, there's a line in the paper for every football game, every baseball game, every basketball game. Oh, ladies bet football, okay? There's an office pool going everywhere. So no, everybody bets on the World Cup, I guarantee you. And there's a bookie right now making a phone call. Hello? Pakistan?
There's a world that exists where it could happen, and let me explain to you why. Okay, let me explain to you why. The second and third highest run scorers in this World Cup so far are Rizwan and Babar Azam. Right. They're both the openers for Pakistan.
Right.
They are 2 and 3. The only one above them is Josh Butler. Everyone else, let me count this right here. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 top leading scorers all played in the early games, okay? The group stages. They all had extra 3 or 4 matches, and they don't have as many runs as these openers. What does that tell you? Are they going to have a 100 partnership every single match? Odds are no. So what happens if those 2 guys go down early and Pakistan is tested on their batting side? You can see a situation. We saw the Royals do it 3 times in the IPL, put up 200 runs for crying out loud. So I can see that world because how much longer, and I'm not trying to jinx Pakistan, they're the best opening partnership in the World Cup, and they're the second and third highest run scoring team. Batting is better than bowling, right? In the entire World Cup. I can see it happening.
Nick, I'm gonna tell you right now, if Scotland beats Pakistan, if Scotland beats India, there's gonna be claims of match fixing, bro. If Scotland, bro, if Namibia beats India, there's gonna be calls for match fixing. ICC is putting out investigators. They're calling Interpol. I'm telling you, bro, there's gonna be investigations ahead, brother, because there should be no way. There should be no way, brother.
Investigations afoot.
You know what? Crazy. If England does it, I'll believe it because they still got Chris Jordan. Somebody please explain Chris Jordan to me, Mr. Pumps a lot, right? Call 1-800-PUMPS-A-LOT and give up all those sixes. Baby got back. Bro, this guy is known for getting pumped.
If I'm pretty Zinta, I'm retaining that guy. I'm telling you that right now. I'm giving him the money. This guy made himself some money. We are way too long. I've got stuff to do. Gabe's got stuff to do. I appreciate his time. I appreciate you guys watching this. Stop it. Let us know. Stop it. The audience has gotten to you, my friend. We have really enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think is going to happen as we come down this stretch. It'll be really interesting. We'll find out in a matter of days, for crying out loud. Gabe, any final thoughts here with your pennies you have there?
Bro, listen. This should at least be able to buy me a Jordan 6 or 2. I'm just saying. No, all jokes aside, I think that this is what makes sports great, guys. This is what makes sports great because you can't predict it. It would be boring if you walked in every year and just knew, hey, it's chalk, right? Everybody knows what they know, and it's going to be the top 4. And here's the thing. Nick and I had this discussion off air. I really think this World Cup has been good for the game of cricket, and I'll tell you why. Because outside of England, who's the most another one of the top dominant cricketing nations, right? You know, it's India, it's the West Indies, right? Very popular, last T20 champions, right? So twice in a row, actually. I'm sorry, it's and Australia, right? These are some of the biggest cricketing nations in the world, yeah. And bro, they're getting manhandled by other teams. So it just shows the world, it shows the cricketing world that, hey, other teams are good as well. There's great players all over, and it grows the game. It grows the game. It really does. I mean, think about it. If I am a fan from Bangladesh and I got no shot of beating whatever, West Indies, Anglia, whoever, why am I watching? If I'm a fan of Namibia, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I got no chance. But if you do make that upset, even if it's one, forget about winning the thing. But I beat India or I beat Pakistan or whoever, you know what I'm saying? That's just so huge for those nations. And even though we clown on a Scotland, right? Scotland went 3-0 in the first stage, right? In the first group, right? So I think that's huge, and it's exposing the games to other places. It's opening up other markets for cricket as far as like revenue streams are concerned. So I think it's good. And I know if you're a fan of Australia, of India, you know, I'm sorry, my West Indies, right now, these T20s haven't been good for you. This tournament hasn't been good for you. But think about the game as a whole. I think it's actually good for the game that these other teams are winning and you know, putting up fights. And I think it's going to continue to grow the game of cricket.
No, absolutely. It's definitely good for the game of cricket. Sucks for the fan bases, but it's good to stretch things out and let people know, like, hey, we got some other players. And I know the IPL is expanding 2 more teams. They're looking at some of these players to come play for them. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, Visa made himself some money. He's getting the bag. I'm making a phone call right now for CSK. Visa, we got the bag for you, baby. We got the bag.
How can you not make the easy pun with his name? Visa, right? You're going to get a Visa, right? We're going to get you a Visa. We're going to pay you with some Visa. Your last name is Visa, even though you spell it differently. Anyways, I'm trying to get us out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and check out some other of our videos. And until next time.
That's 6 runs.